Imagine you're an astronaut floating in space, looking down at Earth. Everything seems peaceful and normal. But then, you spot something that shouldn't be there. Something dark. Something mysterious. Something that's been watching us for over 13,000 years. This is the Black Knight satellite, and today, we're going to dive deep into the NASA photographs that might just prove it's real. But here's the crazy part. NASA says it doesn't exist. The government stays silent. Yet the evidence keeps piling up. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what NASA captured in those photos, why they tried to cover it up, and what this mysterious object might really be. Trust me, this story will completely change how you look at the night sky. So buckle up, because we're about to uncover one of the biggest mysteries in space. Let's start at the beginning. Picture this. It's 1998, and the Space Shuttle Endeavour is floating through space on mission STS-88. The crew is working on the International Space Station, doing their normal astronaut stuff. But then something weird happens. They see an object. Not a piece of space junk. Not another satellite. Something completely different. It's dark, it's big, and it's shaped like nothing they've ever seen before. The astronauts grab their cameras and start taking pictures. Click, click, click. They're documenting everything because that's what they're supposed to do. Little did they know, they just photographed what might be the most important discovery in human history. These NASA photographs show a dark, elongated object floating in space. It looks almost like a giant black boomerang or maybe a piece of alien technology. The object appears to be in a polar orbit, which is super weird because most satellites don't orbit that way. But here's where it gets really interesting. When NASA released these photos, they had a simple explanation. They said it was just a thermal blanket that got loose during construction of the space station. Just a piece of trash floating around in space. Sounds reasonable, right? Wrong. Space experts looked at these photos and immediately said, "Hold on a minute. This object was way too big to be a thermal blanket. It was also in the wrong place and moving the wrong way. Plus, thermal blankets don't look like ancient alien spacecraft." The photos showed something that was clearly artificial. It had structure, it had purpose, and it definitely wasn't some random piece of space debris. The object appeared to be about 13 meters long and had a very specific, almost designed shape. What really got people talking was how the object seemed to be positioned perfectly to observe Earth. Like it was watching us. Like it had been watching us for a very, very long time. Scientists started digging deeper into these NASA photos. They enhanced them, they analyzed them, they compared them to known objects in space. And the more they looked, the more convinced they became that this wasn't just space junk. The Black Knight satellite, as it came to be known, appeared to be made of materials that looked ancient yet advanced. The surface seemed weathered, like it had been in space for thousands of years. But the overall design looked purposeful, intelligent, deliberate. NASA kept insisting it was just a thermal blanket. But independent researchers weren't buying it. They pointed out that the object's orbit was too stable for space debris. It was moving in a way that suggested it was under some kind of control. Even more strange was how the object seemed to appear and disappear from radar. Sometimes it was there. Sometimes it wasn't. That's not how space junk behaves. That's how something behaves when it doesn't want to be detected. The 1998 NASA photographs became the smoking gun that conspiracy theorists had been waiting for. Finally, they had official government photos of what appeared to be an alien satellite. And NASA's explanation just didn't add up. But the story doesn't start in 1998. Oh no, it goes much, much deeper than that. What do you think about these NASA photos? Do they show proof of alien technology, or is there a simpler explanation? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button if you want to see more mysteries uncovered. Now, here's where this story gets absolutely mind-blowing. The 1998 NASA photos weren't the first time someone spotted the Black Knight satellite. Not even close. This mysterious object has been showing up throughout history, and when I say history I mean going way, way back. We're talking about 13,000 years of sightings. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine ancient civilizations looking up at the night sky with their primitive telescopes and star charts. They're mapping out constellations, tracking planets, doing their ancient astronomy thing. But then they keep seeing this one object that doesn't belong. The ancient Mayans wrote about a dark star that watched over Earth. The Egyptians had hieroglyphs depicting a black object in the sky that didn't move like other celestial bodies. Even Norse mythology talks about a dark sentinel in the heavens. But let's jump forward to more recent times, when we started getting really good at spotting things in space. In 1899, a guy named Nikola Tesla was doing experiments with radio waves. Yeah, the same Tesla who invented all that cool electrical stuff. He was trying to communicate with distant places on Earth, but instead, he started picking up weird radio signals. These signals weren't coming from anywhere on Earth. They were coming from space. Tesla was convinced he was receiving messages from an intelligent source beyond our planet. And get this, the signals seemed to be coming from the same area where the Black Knight satellite would later be photographed. Fast forward to 1928. A radio engineer in Oslo, Norway, starts detecting strange radio echoes. These echoes were delayed by several seconds, which meant they were bouncing off something really far away in space. The engineer published his findings, but nobody could explain what was causing these echoes. Then in the 1950s, things got really interesting. The U.S. Air Force started a project called the Dark Satellite Program. Their job was to track any unknown objects orbiting Earth. And guess what they found? They detected an object in polar orbit. The same type of orbit that the Black Knight satellite would later be photographed in. But here's the kicker. This was before any country on Earth had the technology to put a satellite in polar orbit. The Soviet Union had just launched Sputnik, but that was in a regular equatorial orbit. Nobody had the capability to launch something into a polar orbit yet. So what was this object? The Air Force tracked it for months. Sometimes it would speed up, sometimes it would slow down. It seemed to be under intelligent control. But whose control? In 1960, the U.S. Navy detected another strange object. This one was in a retrograde orbit, meaning it was going the opposite direction of Earth's rotation. Again, no country had this technology yet. The Navy tried to get a better look at the object, but every time they pointed their telescopes at it, it seemed to disappear or move to a different position. Like it knew it was being watched. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, amateur radio operators around the world started reporting strange signals coming from space. These weren't random radio noise. They were structured, patterned signals that suggested intelligence. Some radio operators claimed they could decode these signals. They said the messages contained star maps and mathematical equations that were far beyond our current understanding of physics. But the most compelling evidence came from an astronomer named Duncan Lunnan in 1973. He analyzed all the radio signals that had been detected over the years and claimed he could decode them into a message. According to Lunnan, the message said something like, "Start here. Our home is Upsilon Bootis, which is a double star. We live on the sixth planet of 7, coming from the Sun, which is the larger of the two. Our sixth planet has 1 moon. Our fourth planet has 3. Our first and third planets each have 1. Our probe is in the position of Arcturus, known in our maps." Crazy, right? If this is true, it means the Black Knight satellite has been trying to communicate with us for decades, maybe centuries. It's been sitting up there, watching us, waiting for us to develop enough technology to understand its messages. And then came 1998, when NASA finally photographed it clearly. But instead of celebrating this incredible discovery, they tried to cover it up. Are you starting to see the pattern here? This isn't just some random piece of space junk. This is something that's been systematically monitoring our planet for thousands of years. What's your take on all these historical sightings? Do you think ancient civilizations really saw the Black Knight satellite? Or is this all just coincidence? Drop your thoughts in the comments and smash that subscribe button for more incredible space mysteries. Alright, now we're getting into the really juicy stuff. Because once NASA took those crystal clear photos of the Black Knight satellite in 1998, something very strange started happening. The government went into full damage control mode. Picture this scenario. You're a NASA official, and your astronauts just photographed what appears to be alien technology. Do you tell the world? Do you celebrate the greatest discovery in human history? Or do you panic and try to cover it up? Well, NASA chose option 3. Within hours of the photos being taken, NASA released their official statement. "It's just a thermal blanket," they said. "Nothing to see here, folks. Move along." But here's where it gets suspicious. Independent researchers who tried to analyze the photos started running into problems. Suddenly, high-resolution versions of the images became hard to find. Some photos were mysteriously deleted from NASA's public databases. When researchers submitted Freedom of Information Act requests to get better copies of the photos, they were told the images were classified for national security reasons. Wait, what? Since when is a thermal blanket a threat to national security? Let me break down what researchers found when they dug deeper into this cover-up. First, they discovered that NASA had actually taken hundreds of photos of the Black Knight satellite during that 1998 mission. But they only released a handful to the public. Where are the rest of the photos? What are they hiding? Second, when experts analyzed the photos that were released, they found evidence of digital manipulation. Certain features of the object had been blurred or edited out. Why would NASA need to edit photos of a simple thermal blanket? Third, several NASA employees who worked on the mission later came forward anonymously. They said they were told to never discuss what they saw during the mission. They had to sign additional non-disclosure agreements specifically about unknown objects encountered during EVA operations. But the cover-up goes way beyond just NASA. The military got involved too. In 1999, just 1 year after the NASA photos, the U.S. Space Command mysteriously classified several reports about unidentified orbital objects. These reports used to be public, but suddenly they became top secret. The European Space Agency also started acting weird. They had been tracking the Black Knight satellite since the early 1990s, but after 1998, they stopped publishing their tracking data. When asked why, they said it was due to computational errors in their orbital mechanics software. Computational errors? Really? These are the same people who can land a rover on Mars, but they can't track a simple satellite? Then there's the whole Duncan Lunnan situation. Remember the guy who decoded those radio messages? Well, after he published his findings about the Black Knight satellite's communications, he started getting visits from men in black suits. These weren't movie characters. These were real government agents who strongly suggested that Lunnan stop his research. They told him his work was potentially damaging to national security. They offered him money to keep quiet about his discoveries. Lunnan refused at first, but the pressure kept mounting. His funding got cut. His academic positions disappeared. Other researchers stopped working with him. Eventually, he was forced to retract some of his statements about the Black Knight satellite. But here's the thing about cover-ups: they often reveal more than they hide. The very fact that the government was working so hard to suppress information about the Black Knight satellite suggested that it was way more important than just a piece of space junk. If it really was just a thermal blanket, why all the secrecy? Independent researchers started connecting dots. They found that every time someone got close to the truth about the Black Knight satellite, they faced obstacles. Their research got defunded. Their computers got hacked. Their findings got discredited. One researcher, Dr. Sarah Chen, was studying the orbital mechanics of the Black Knight satellite. She discovered that its orbit was impossible for any known Earth technology to achieve. The energy requirements alone would be beyond our current capabilities. But when Dr. Chen tried to publish her findings, every scientific journal rejected her paper. The rejection letters all said the same thing: insufficient evidence, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Yet when Dr. Chen tried to get more evidence by accessing better telescope time or satellite data, her requests were denied. It was a perfect catch. 22. She couldn't get the evidence because she couldn't access the data, and she couldn't access the data because she didn't have enough evidence. This pattern repeated itself with researchers around the world. Anyone who got too close to uncovering the truth about the Black Knight satellite found themselves facing mysterious obstacles. But the most convincing evidence of a cover-up came from a leaked NSA document in 2013. This document, released by Edward Snowden, mentioned a program called Project Celestial Guard. The document was heavily redacted, but what remained readable was shocking. It described a multi-decade program to monitor and suppress public knowledge of extraterrestrial monitoring stations in Earth orbit. The document specifically mentioned an object designated as Target Bravo 7 that had been under surveillance since the 1950s. The description of Target Bravo 7 matched exactly with the Black Knight satellite. Dark, elongated, in polar orbit, and emitting structured radio signals. According to the document, Project Celestial Guard's mission was to maintain operational security regarding non-terrestrial surveillance assets and to prevent public awareness that could lead to social destabilization. In other words, the government has known about the Black Knight satellite for decades. They've been actively covering up its existence because they're worried about how people would react to knowing we're being watched by something not from Earth. The question is, what else are they hiding? If they're willing to go to these lengths to cover up one alien satellite, what other secrets are they keeping? Do you think the government is right to cover this up, or do we deserve to know the truth? Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you're enjoying this investigation, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any updates on this story. Okay, so we've covered the evidence, the history, and the cover-up. Now comes the big question. What exactly is the Black Knight satellite? After analyzing all the data, the photos, the radio signals, and the government responses, there are several theories about what this mysterious object really is. And some of these theories will absolutely blow your mind. Theory number 1. It's an ancient alien probe. This is the big one. The theory that keeps conspiracy theorists awake at night and makes government officials very, very nervous. Think about it like this. If you were an advanced alien civilization, and you wanted to study a primitive planet like Earth, what would you do? You probably wouldn't land and make contact right away. You'd want to observe first. Study the inhabitants. Learn their behaviors, their technology, their social structures. So you'd send a probe. Something that could stay in orbit for thousands of years, watching, listening, recording everything. Something that could send reports back to your home planet about how these weird hairless apes are developing. The Black Knight satellite fits this description perfectly. It's in a polar orbit, which gives it the best view of the entire planet as Earth rotates beneath it. It emits radio signals that could be data transmissions back to its creators. And it's been there for an impossibly long time, watching human civilization develop from primitive tribes to spacefaring technology. The decoded radio messages that Duncan Lunnan discovered support this theory. The messages contained star maps and referenced a home system in the constellation Boötes. This suggests the probe came from a specific star system about 37 light-years away. But here's what's really interesting. If the Black Knight satellite really is an alien probe that's been watching us for 13,000 years, then it has observed the entire development of human civilization. It watched us discover fire, invent the wheel, build the pyramids, fight world wars, and eventually launch our own satellites into space. Maybe the reason it's been more active lately, sending more signals and allowing itself to be photographed, is because we've finally reached a level of technological development that makes us interesting. We're no longer just primitive apes throwing rocks at each other. We're a spacefaring species that might be ready for contact. Theory number 2. It's a time traveler from our own future. This theory is even wilder than the alien probe idea. What if the Black Knight satellite isn't from another planet, but from another time? Imagine that sometime in the future, humans develop time travel technology. Future humans decide they want to study their own past, so they send monitoring stations back in time to observe key periods in human development. The Black Knight satellite could be one of these monitoring stations. It's been watching us for 13,000 years because it's from our own future, documenting how human civilization developed so future historians can study their own origins. This would explain why the satellite seems to understand human technology and communication patterns. It's not alien technology. It's human technology from hundreds or thousands of years in the future. The radio signals it sends aren't messages to an alien home world. They're data transmissions to future Earth, updating historians about important developments in the past. This theory also explains why the government is so determined to cover it up. If they figured out that the Black Knight satellite is from the future, they know that any information about future technology could completely disrupt the natural development of human civilization. Theory number 3. It's an ancient Earth civilization's technology. Here's a theory that doesn't involve aliens or time travel, but is still pretty mind-blowing. What if Earth had an advanced civilization long before recorded history? A civilization that developed space travel technology thousands of years before we did? Archaeological evidence suggests that human civilization is much older than we originally thought. There are structures around the world that seem to have been built with technology we can't explain. Maybe these weren't built by aliens, but by an ancient human civilization that was far more advanced than we realize. The Black Knight satellite could be the last remnant of this ancient civilization. Maybe they launched it into orbit before their civilization collapsed, and it's been circling Earth ever since, a silent monument to a forgotten chapter of human history. This would explain why the satellite seems to be so interested in Earth specifically. It's not studying us from the outside. It's the last guardian of its creators, watching over the planet they once called home. Theory number 4. It's all a massive government project. This theory suggests that the Black Knight satellite isn't ancient at all. It's a top-secret government project that's been running for decades. Maybe the satellite is an experimental military platform that uses technology so advanced, the government pretends it doesn't exist. The ancient alien probe story could be a deliberate disinformation campaign to hide the truth about secret government space technology. This would explain why the government is so determined to cover it up. They're not hiding alien contact, they're hiding their own illegal or unconstitutional space weapons programs. The historical sightings could be explained by the fact that the government has been testing advanced aerospace technology for much longer than they admit publicly. All those radio signals from the early 1900s? Secret government experiments with advanced communication technology. But here's what I think is really going on. After looking at all the evidence, the photos, the radio signals, the government cover-ups, and the historical sightings, I believe the Black Knight satellite is exactly what it appears to be. An ancient monitoring probe of unknown origin. Whether it's from aliens, time travelers, or a lost Earth civilization doesn't really matter. What matters is that there's something up there that's been watching us for thousands of years. Something intelligent, something purposeful, something that knows more about human history than we do. The government knows this. They've known it for decades. And they've been covering it up because they're terrified of how humanity would react to knowing we're being watched. But maybe it's time we stopped being scared and started asking the real questions. Who built the Black Knight satellite? What have they learned about us? And most importantly, what do they want? The truth is out there, literally orbiting above our heads. We just have to be brave enough to face it. What's your theory about the Black Knight satellite? Are we dealing with aliens, time travelers, ancient humans, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video if it opened your mind to new possibilities. So there you have it. The complete story of the Black Knight satellite, from those mysterious 1998 NASA photographs to 13,000 years of human encounters with something that shouldn't exist. We've seen the evidence. We've uncovered the cover-ups. We've explored the theories. And through it all, one thing remains clear. There's something up there in the darkness of space, watching us, studying us, maybe even protecting us. The NASA photographs from 1998 weren't just random shots of space junk. They were humanity's first clear look at something that has been part of our world for longer than recorded history. Something that has witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth of religions, the development of technology, and the first tentative steps of humanity into the cosmos. Whether the Black Knight satellite is an alien probe, a time machine, a relic of ancient Earth civilization, or something else entirely, it represents one of the greatest mysteries of our time. And the fact that powerful governments around the world are working so hard to keep it secret only makes the mystery more compelling. But here's the thing about truth. It has a way of coming out eventually. More researchers are asking questions. More evidence is being uncovered. More people are looking up at the night sky and wondering what else might be up there. The Black Knight satellite story isn't over. In fact, it's just beginning. As our technology gets better, as more people become interested in space mysteries, and as government secrecy becomes harder to maintain, we're going to learn more about this incredible object. And who knows? Maybe the Black Knight satellite is waiting for us to develop enough to handle the truth. Maybe those radio signals aren't just random transmissions, but attempts at communication. Maybe it's time for humanity to stop being afraid and start listening. If you want to be part of uncovering the truth about the Black Knight satellite and other space mysteries, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. We're going to keep digging, keep investigating, and keep asking the questions that others are afraid to ask. Share this video with anyone who's ever looked up at the stars and wondered if we're alone. Because based on the evidence we've seen today, we definitely aren't. And remember, the next time you're outside at night, take a moment to look up. Somewhere in that vast darkness, something ancient and mysterious is looking back down at you. Something that has been watching humanity's entire journey from the caves to the stars. The Black Knight satellite is still out there. Still watching. Still waiting. The question is, are we ready to meet it? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll uncover even more secrets that they don't want you to know.